Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Growth Unscripted podcast. Listen, there's a gentleman here that me and him was chatting it up behind the scenes, and bro, man, this dude has a story, okay? Listen, his name is Jay Burke. This man is somebody that y'all should definitely listen to. I can't wait for this episode. It's gonna be fire. Yo, Jay, thank you, bro. Welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing phenomenal. I'm blessed. I can't lie. Honestly, I've been going through some challenges lately. You know what I'm saying? Like with keeping up with everything that I'm doing. Well, you know, but your audience don't know. I'm a father of 9 kids. You know what I'm saying? Happily married. Recently retired out of the military. You know, transitioning into full time. You know, entrepreneur, business owner. I own 2 businesses. I'm in school full time. So it's a lot going on. And I'm just trying to like not tap out mentally, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? So that's some of the things that I'm dealing right now. I know we're going to talk about it, but amidst all that, I'm blessed, man, because I'm in a position where mentally I know how to overcome these challenges. It's just a matter of getting through it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, here we go again. Here comes the, but I feel like God prepared me for this and all the other stuff that he brought me through that we're going to talk about for sure. So it's just another day, man. Like we say in the infantry, a beautiful, another day in paradise.
I feel you. Okay, so first let's back it up for a second. So literally the first thing I'm pretty sure that my audience, like when you literally said you're a father of 9 kids.
Yeah.
Like I can already imagine now the girls were like, what the hell?
Dang,
what he been doing?
Yeah.
So
man.
Can you explain? So pretty much, first and foremost, one, how can your brain even stay intact, right? With just having 9 kids, let alone you be able to even process, be able to go through day to day, still being able to do the things that you do.
Yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie to you. I honestly, Brent, I get asked this all the time, and I still have a hard time coming with the clear answer because I feel like at this point in my life, you know, I'm 31, about to turn 32 here in a few short months, and honestly, I feel like I'm on autopilot. Because people literally ask me that. I get asked that at least twice a week. Like, how are you doing this? Like, how are you getting through? Especially when I listed out all the stuff that I'm doing on top of being a father of 9 kids. You know what I'm saying? Having a great marriage and make sure I'm nurturing and stewarding that. And I don't know, bro. Like, I feel like I've been through so much over the course of my life. You know what I'm saying? Through challenges and tribulations. It's just like, I'm straight on autopilot. Like my brain is just, granted, this can be a negative thing sometimes. Like sometimes I feel like I skip over the emotion. You know what I mean? At times when I should be honing in on it, but I'm just like, all right, gotta get this done. Okay, gotta get this done. Like I have a board right here with my agenda on it for the day, and it's like still about 15, 16 things on here that I need to check off, and it's almost 2 in the afternoon, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm just rolling with the punches, you know what I'm saying? Whatever life throws at me and whatever these kids throw, I got my youngest son right here, you know, in his zone playing with his toys, and I'm just rolling with the punches, man. That's all you can do. You know what I mean? It's difficult and it's challenging for sure. You know, we got presented with a challenge, you know, with our 5-year-olds this weekend, and we were like, yo, how are we going to, you know what I'm saying, tackle this? And life kind of stopped for a minute because we honestly didn't want to do nothing. Like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to talk about it in detail necessarily, but it's one of those things where, you know, you have to reevaluate what you're doing, and you have to reevaluate, you know, how much attention you're paying, to your kids, because the kids are being exposed to stuff like crazy. You know what I'm saying? Long story short, they got, introduced to something, from YouTube, kids YouTube at that. And we usually try to monitor pretty close what they see. You know what I'm saying? We actually ban regular YouTube from the house. from the TVs and stuff like that last year. But, the kids are on YouTube nowadays as far as, young creators doing inappropriate things, saying inappropriate things or whatever.
True.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, dang, like, you didn't think you had to protect them from the other kids.
But there was too as well, right? There was like this puppet. I forgot the name of the show. It was like some puppet or whatever, right? And like a puppet talks about how it would be depressed and how it wants to kill itself. And then shows like different scenes of him like shooting his head off and blowing up and like saying something like saying off the wall stuff.
Yeah.
Saying like mommy like know what, mommy seems like she's going through a lot right now, let me end it for her, like stuff like that. And I'm like, how can YouTube even want to allow this, first and foremost, right? And then you're talking about having like your kids indulging in this, because here's the thing, right? With kids, you and me both know, like, kids pay attention when you think they're not paying attention.
Yeah, and that's a long time, it seems.
Yeah, they retain that. Whether they're not showing it to you right away or not, they're retaining that. It's just the point of when it's going to blossom throughout their life. And so when you like having like your kids like watching YouTube and stuff like that, you gotta be very, very like closely have to monitor what they're looking at. Because even for my daughter, because she does YouTube Kids, so like any channels that I came across or find out about that's bad, I'll go ahead and go to those channels and try to block those channels though. So at least then I don't have to worry about them at least being exposed to those channels. And I'm sure there's hundreds out there that's still just as bad, but I gotta go through it, every so often just to make sure she's not watching something inappropriate. She doesn't need to be congesting right now, especially now that she's 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, it hit us, man, and it hit us in a way that I don't even know how to gather myself, you know what I mean? Like, I had to call people, I had to talk to, a social worker, and we had it was that deep, and I was like, yo, I don't want to do nothing for the rest of the weekend, but I still got responsibilities I gotta take care of, life still goes on, I still gotta be a father, I still gotta, be a husband, I still gotta do these things and chase these ambitions. It's so much, man, on a dude. But at the end of the day, I've gotten so accustomed to just taking the pain, you know what I mean, and learning how to develop and grow from. Like, okay, this is something we can learn from. This is something that we can use to further structure our household. You know what I mean, like that. And it's been a challenge, man. It's been a challenge.
Okay, so tell me this, right? So since you have 9 kids, like, how many mothers do they have? Like, do all of them have? Is it like 4 moms, 2, 3?
It's 4. So my first 4 kids were with my ex-wife. I was like you. I was born and raised in Virginia. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Richmond, Virginia, originally. And, my ex-wife is from there, so we have 4 kids together. And then, my other kids are from, let's see, not all my other kids. My youngest 2 are from the same mom, but everybody else is from different moms. So, yeah, it's a little mixture, but I've gotten to a point where, thankfully, like I said, I'm blessed. Thankfully, my co-parenting situation is, it's still developing, it's still maturing, but it's a lot better than what it used to be. Because, to be honest, I used to be a hothead. I used to, be the person who thought I was always right. Because I'm a strategic thinker, right? You know what I'm saying? I think, okay, this is how this happens. This is the outcome or these are the possible outcomes, right? Versus thinking emotionally. And like I said before, sometimes I'll shut off that emotion in times where I shouldn't. And so that kind of made me a very challenging person to deal with, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to co-parenting. Like, I didn't want to hear no excuses for nothing. I didn't want to hear why they couldn't get to wherever they're supposed to have been going. Like, we should have planned this way ahead of time. If they need money for this, why are you asking me like 30 minutes before they got the appointment or whatever, like stuff like that. I was very irritating to deal with. And now, through development and through learning how to communicate and through learning, I should say this, not just learning how to communicate, but through learning how I communicate and why I communicate the way I do, like the psychology behind it, because of the way I grew up, the things that I got into versus how they communicate and how they receive stuff. And I think that's a lot of the things that co-parents miss, is that you can't just say stuff just because that's how you say it. You got to say stuff in a way that somebody's going to receive it, in the way that they're going to hear it. You know what I'm saying? And the best way
Especially when it's not just them anymore, it's you and them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
It's a partnership, even though y'all may not be still together. I mean, y'all may not be together, but just the whole point that it's just that communication piece, because y'all talking about y'all kids now.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, our goals are the same. Like, trials we went through when we were in a relationship, whatever, issues we dealt with, whatever bitterness exists, all the other stuff goes out the window, because the goal is to raise the kids in the best way possible and to get them where they need to be. That's been a challenge as well, but like I said, thankfully I'm blessed, to be in a position where the co-parent relationship between me and all of their moms, except for one, we're gonna talk about that in a minute, except for one, our co-parent relationships are great. Now, that one, I want to say this now for the listeners out there. When I say the one that got away, I'm not talking about I wanted her, right? What I'm saying is this lady disappeared with my son off the face of the planet. Things were going well as co-parents, play dates and all that. She met somebody I was dating at the time, and we had a play date, right? And I was like, okay, I would like to see him again this weekend. My son Camden, I was like, I would like to see him again this weekend. She was like, yeah, you can see him Saturday, blah, blah, blah. I check in on Friday, no response. Check in on Saturday, no response. Okay, what's going on? Is my number blocked? Okay, cool. Blocked on social media, phone numbers blocked, you know what I'm saying? And at some point, I had to end up going to her place of residence to try to figure out what was going on. When I showed up, the vehicle was there. All lights happened to get turned off as I pull into the driveway. I'm knocking on the door. I see somebody peeking in out the window. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, I just want to see my son. And I'm trying to figure out what happened between 2 days ago and now that made you want to say, no, you can't see your son, right? And they called the sheriff's department on me. He's like, the owners of this property don't want you on the property. I'm like, yo, what happened? You know what I mean? And then after that,
that's a crazy 180.
And that's what I'm saying. After that, she moved and disappeared. So I got private investigators, all this other stuff that I don't necessarily have the income to be doing. But, I want to see my son. I want to build a relationship with my son. So, and still going, still haven't found out where she's at to this day.
What?
So she just, up and disappeared. Mind you, this was like a good 3-4 years ago that this happened.
That's crazy.
Yes.
My gosh. I'm just trying to think though, what was going through her mind? Because the only thing I could, I'm type of person, I'm type of person, I like to consider different possibilities, right?
Yeah.
And so between her saying, hey, you can see your son on Saturday, to all of a sudden Saturday comes, no response, you go ghost, you finally had to go to her place of residence, come to find out she tells you, well, not tell you, but the sheriff, somebody calls the police on you saying you got to leave the residence. Mm-hmm. And now she totally went off the face of the earth. So I'm trying to think what was going through her thought process. Because the only thing I could think of, there's one thing I could think of. The one thing I could think of is that she met somebody who probably promised her this, and this, which then she got delighted with the idea. And so she said, in order for me to do this, that means I would have to cut all ties. You know what? fuck it. I'm gonna take my son, and we're gonna go here and live with this person, and this person's now gonna become your dad, right?
Yeah.
And not saying that is the case, but when you consider different possibilities, I
Yeah.
mean, there's people though
It's
that could
crazy.
act. Yeah, there's some people though that could act straight, like, you know, normal to you, but then all of a sudden they can completely switch on you and become this whole entire different person. Who knows how long she been planning this? That's the thing. Who she
Yeah.
been talking to?
And the interesting thing is, right, you know, for one, I understand that I wasn't the best person at that time of my life. I get that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even going to pretend like I was, because I wasn't. I was, you know what I'm saying? I was still in the military, but, you know, I was out there being a help. You know what I'm saying? I was in the streets doing my thing. And, I kept telling myself and lying to myself saying, that's okay as long as I'm a good father. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to be a good, you know, partner. I don't need to be, you know, whatever. As long as I'm a good father and I take care of my kids, it's cool. And I told myself that lie for the longest time. However, the interesting thing was, I think, and then granted, like I said, we just coming up with ideas, but I think it has something to do with the fact that, you know, the person I was with at the time was pregnant with my youngest daughter when we had that play date, right? We had that, and, you know, she was there present for that play date. And so I think that might have either ticked her off because, you know, she saw somebody that I was actively with. We were never together, like in a real relationship. You know, we were just, you know, having a good time, as they say. And I think that might have ticked her off that I developed a relationship with somebody who was having another child, you know, and maybe that ticked her off and made her go off the deep end. I don't know, but, you know, it was very, very unfortunate timing because, you know, he was young. And he's still young, but, you know, he was a toddler. He was, you know, probably, I want to say 2 or 3 years old at the time. So,
So see,
and
he can't even retain that memory then.
yeah, exactly. So, you know what I'm saying? So now he's probably thinking whoever's in the picture at this time is probably my father. And I guarantee you, that's crazy. I saw her in the store maybe like a year later, like from across the way. I just happened to look up and see her come in the door. And I was with, you know, the person I was dating at the time. Saw her come in the door. We made eye contact. And by the time I got up to the front where she was at, gone. I was like, yo, this is crazy. But yeah, that's one of the things, one of the many things I'm dealing with and trying to get, you know, on up and up. But yeah, four moms, you know, I have a great relationship with the rest of my kids. It's just, you know, that one that got away, and I gotta find him. I gotta, you know, do what I can as a father for him because, you know, he needs his father. And hopefully, you know, and I'm not gonna say hopefully, God gonna make a way, you know, for us to get together and for me to, you know, be an active father for him because that's who I am, you know what I mean? And I don't find it fair by any means that, you know, that opportunity was stripped away from me. So
That is true. Cause
yeah.
so here's the thing, right? Like, if you was doing your part as a parent, right, more than anything, and you wasn't being abusive, being mean or anything like that, you know, it wasn't causing a danger to your child, then there shouldn't be no reason why somebody should take away your child at all, especially not causing them any type of danger or harm. But it's just the fact that, and it's sad to say that there's people out there who literally will strip away their counterpart, the mom or the dad, away from the other person, and then they'll fill their head with lies too the entire time, saying, "No, your dad left you, he didn't love you," or "Your mom left you, she didn't love you." And like, when you really hone in and think about it, I can understand how that could be stressful. I can only fathom that point. I'm just thankful that at least that when my mother's child, that at least she's not on that type of timing to where she wanted to push me away from my child, thankfully. So I'm one of the very few lucky ones. But it's just a point that it's sad to say. It's sad to even think about that. There's people like that has that hate and that spite in their heart to even do crazy shit like that. Like, okay, I get it. You don't want to do nothing with me, cool, but don't make our child be the downfall though. Like, don't make our child be the one that have to suffer through all the stuff that you and me have, because I have no problems with my child. We're good.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So like, even just the point of she could just simply just like, you know what, I could at least let him video chat him at least, right? Mm-hmm. At the very least. But don't just simply just cut me off completely, and then you could possibly spill lies or have my child or my son think other thoughts that's not really the case. Cause now he's being projected to see whatever he's going through right now, and considering what that is his reality when it's not.
Yeah, and people always like, I get a constant reminder of this, not just because obviously, I have a lot of kids, right? And I always say 9 kids, and people are like, wait a minute, where's the 9th one at? You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily hate talking about it, but
it pulls at your heartstrings.
Yeah. And because being a father is, it's all of who I am. You know what I mean? I shouldn't say it's all of who I am. It's in the very fiber of my being. I'm very involved in my kids' life, day to day. I'm waking up, getting the kids ready for school, especially now that I'm a stay-at-home father. I don't like to say stay-at-home, but you know what I mean? Like, I work from home, so, I'm getting the kids, making sure they're ready for school, getting them to the bus, stuff like. And so then I have to think, well, there's one kid that doesn't have this opportunity to have this moment with me. You know what I'm saying? There's one child of mine, who doesn't get to, get read to bedtime stories to, you know what I mean, by their actual father, you know what I mean? And that was taken away from me. But things are going to take a shift, and things are going to happen. I'm going to, believe God for the best out of that situation. I try not to ponder on it too much because it does get me emotional.
I understand.
And it took a lot of time for me to even understand my own emotions, not only as a black man, but as somebody who grew up without a father, you know what I mean? And thank God I have a great relationship with my father now, you know what I'm saying? But, I grew up without him, and for the longest time, I didn't understand how to walk, talk, behave like a young man and then a man, because I didn't have no example. My mom was an only child. I was raised with, on my mom's side, just me and my sister, my older sister. So I was surrounded by women. I didn't have no example of what to do, how to react, how to conversate, how to deal with things that I feel like, I should have had the opportunity to, do or to deal with. So it's a challenge, but like I said, it's no challenge that I can't overcome, with God, and I just roll with the punches, man. I just roll with the punches. I'm kind of like, I don't know if you can see it in my face, but some of this stuff I'm numb to at times, because I understand now that the challenges are to prepare me for what's next in life. The challenges are setting me up for my successes. Because like I said, I wouldn't be the man here today. I promise you I wouldn't, if I hadn't gone through the things that I've gone through when I was in the streets phase. You know what I mean? Like, now I really know how to treat a woman. Now I really know what to say, what not to say, and how to say it, to make sure that, my wife is loved, my wife is adored, my wife is cherished like the queen she is, because I understand what it's like to not do it and for that to go horribly wrong time after time after time. You know what I mean? So it's another day in paradise, my brother. Another day in paradise.
I mean, it's trials and tribulations, right? Like, when you, like, the things, the sequences that happen to you, right? It helped build your character. It helped make you grow. It helped you learn different skill sets and learn different things that you didn't do prior, right? And when you think about that on a deeper level, it's like, okay, even though I was going through all this before, right? I can thank my past self because now my future self now understands what it takes. Yes, it sucks that we had to go through this, but at the same time, just like my whole podcast, Growth is Unscripted. Like there's no process to terms of like, it kind of like to let you know exactly how things going to play out. It's just a whole point when certain shit happens, you either going to pivot and you can let this either tear you down or you can let this build you up. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure deep down in my heart that things would definitely work out for you, especially getting a chance to see your son again. It might be in the most craziest way that you probably not even going to fathom and think about. But I think the biggest thing is, in the meantime, that you focus on the ones that you do have hold on, that you can take control, that that you're able to take control of, like grasps on right now. Those are those that are within your reach, because those that are within your reach are the ones that depends on you the most and still love and adore you. And I'm sure your son still loves and adore you too. Yeah, it may be because he's very young, but it's just that connection. That's the thing, it's the connection. When you have that connection that like literally rise in you, right? It's going to literally cause you to, it'll be that it's a resonance when you're resonating. So no matter what's going on, as long as you stay focused on your path and your grind, shoot, you never know. Like he could probably eventually listen to your podcast one day and don't even know. But then be like, man, I don't know what it is, but for some reason I feel connected to him somehow. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it's interesting because, like, my podcast is called the Fatherhood Exclusive Podcast. I'm writing a book on leading your family as a father. I'm doing all these things that are surrounded around my capacity to lead and be a father. And so when I think about just like my one child, Camden, that I don't get to see and I don't get to adore and love and raise, or should I say participate in raising, in a co-parent situation, it just, man, it hurts. It hurts because, he's a part of my story, he's a part of my being. And, I got one talking to me right now. He's a part of my story and he's a part of my being, and, he doesn't get to experience that yet. But you're right, that day will come. Hopefully he'll come across the pod. Hopefully he'll, see me in public one day, see me online or something, and first of all my kids look exactly like me. You dig? So it's, I don't know, not to disrespect her or anything, because, I don't like to do that in any form or capacity, but, to think that, you just gonna skate with my child and he not gonna come across me at some point is completely like deranged, because somebody can look and point out one of my children from miles and miles away. You know what I'm saying? And, regardless, Camden Burns, if you ever listen to this, I love you, and, your father's going to show up and show out, in a positive way. I don't want that to be taken the wrong way, but,
Nah, I got you. The universe, you stay blessed, you stay straight on your path of what you're doing, the universe will definitely grant you that reward for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now let's get into the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
So what made you want to have 9 kids? So like, is it just that your pullout game is weak? You decided to just want to stay in? Like, what is it? Because this is something people want to know.
Yeah. So, and I tell people this, when I conversate with people in person, it's not that my pullout game is weak. I just don't play the game. I just don't play. You can't lose or win the game if you don't play the game. So I don't play the game, and things happen. Every action has a reaction in the universe. So God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. I didn't put it out, and there was a baby. You did. So they kept rolling.
So you telling me then you was over here listening to Genuine and them? He's like, "No, what? I'm gonna leave it in. You know what? There's gonna be a blessing out of this."
I was an old school baby, man. I was raised on cats like, Boyz II Men, New Edition, Luther Vandross, Barry White. So if you can hear the pattern, you're like, yeah, he definitely was going. And granted, my first child was at 14 when I was 14 years old. But it's crazy how I'm not gonna try to blame music on me, but I was a musician. You know what I'm saying? I played the saxophone. I was a singer. I played a couple other different instruments, but mainly the saxophone. And I was into R&B and jazz. And, growing up listening to these, my mom had 8-track. Growing up listening to these phenomenal artists, I was like, okay. And maybe I was feeling it a little bit too much. You did. And we got the rapping, and that's how it happened.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it seems like to me then, my brother, it seems like that you want to make sure that your lineage are here to stay. And that's what I'm getting.
Honestly, I never thought about it like that before because, like I said, I'm kind of on autopilot. I roll with the punches.
Yeah.
However, now that I'm looking back on it, I think every kid was designed to be placed in my life, designed to be born at a certain time period where I feel like I needed them just as much as they needed me. You know what I mean? And because so much growth and development has come from there being a child in my life at some point in my life. Like, I promise you, if I didn't have my oldest son at 14 years old, and then my oldest daughter the next year at 15 years old, I probably would have either been in prison or dead. You know what I'm saying? Just because of how I grew up and kind of what built up to that moment. Because honestly, I was damn near about to jump off the deep end and crash out on some stuff around that time frame. And having a child saved me from that. You know what I mean? Like having a child, I realized that I had an opportunity. I had an opportunity to do something that wasn't known to me. Like I said, I didn't have my father in my life, and I was like, yo, this is an opportunity. I'm excited. You know what I'm saying? My first response was, I hope it's a boy, but that was my first initial response. And you would expect a 14-year-old to be like crashing out and, getting all nervous or whatever. But I was just like, man, I just hope it's a boy because I got an opportunity here, to provide and do something different than what's announced to me because I didn't
it put a spark in your life because it gave you actually reason now to actually have a purpose in terms of like now I'm able to have the ability to do something compared to not be able to do nothing at all, just keep doing the regular old day to day.
Yeah. And the issue is, I just kept on doing I just kept on having kids, man. And, my kids are a blessing for sure, but I don't think going back to earlier when I said I'm a very strategic thinker, I did not think in that area at all. I did not, like I said,
well, when you're in the moment and things are hot, they spicy, it's like eating that juicy steak, right? Like, you're not supposed to be eating that steak. You smell it, it's smelling good. And then you hungry. So then you start eating it and you're like, man, let me just get one more bite.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to eat it all. And it's like, and you just like, just keep going and going and keep rinsing and repeating, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, for you to be able to for the most part I hate the yawning. Damn it. They say this because we yawn so much because you're not getting enough oxygen to the brain.
Yep.
I don't know how much more heavy breathing I gotta like what I need to get some oxygen in my brain. But the one thing I would say though, I commend you though on you be able to even handle having 9 kids and be able to operate the way you do. Cause I can say now that I can't think of not one person who has that many kids, and it for the most part is mostly healthy. Honestly,
yeah, it's been a journey, man. Like, and let's go way back. Like, growing up, I was the shy kid. I was super intelligent. Like, I could write my whole name and write in cursive at, I think my mom said it was like 3 years old or something like that, 3 or 4 years old. So I was a very smart, intelligent child, but I was also quiet. I was an outcast, like, you know what I'm saying? And I got bullied for it bad. I got bullied. I was crazy. I was just talking to my wife last night. I was scrolling on Facebook, right? And I came across one of the main dudes that used to bully me in elementary school. You know what I'm saying? I came across him. It was like people you may know. And I was like, ooh, but no, but yeah, I was telling her, I was like, yo, this is the dude that kind of set off my chain reaction of bad behavior. Not to blame him, but, you know, this is one of the dudes that used to bully me in elementary school. You know, he didn't like that I was quiet. He didn't like that, you know, I stayed away from most people. He was a popular kid, you know what I mean? Even though little did he know, I wanted to be him. He was a basketball all-star, you know, he was doing his thing. But for some reason, I felt like these kids had a hatred for me. Like they used to pick on my clothes. I was raised by a single mom. You know, we didn't have it like that. So you know, Goodwill was the go-to. You know what I mean? Like, and they didn't even have like stuff like Ross and all that back then. It was just you know Goodwill and then hand-me-downs. And so I used to get picked on a ton. You know, I used to get beat up on the basketball court. You know, at recess. And at that point in my time, I didn't have no like self-defense, you know, like that. I didn't have no concept of that. So things got pretty bad for quite a while until middle school. I was like, I need protection. You know what I'm saying? I need to start hanging around some people, you know, that could teach me some things that's going to keep people away from me. And so then I started gangbanging, you know, and, you know, it was, and it's crazy. I just told my mom didn't even know, you know what I'm saying? I kept this from my mom, you know, because my mom was working 2 jobs, you know,
You didn't want to stress her out already what you were going through.
She was doing what she could, you know what I'm saying, to raise us. And I was just out on the street doing what I do and then coming home and pretending like I was a whole different person. You know what I mean? And, you know, it got to a point where, again, that's that transition to where I was about to go off the deep end. And then, you know, God blessed me with a child and I was like, whoa, I need to chill because now I got responsibility. You know what I'm saying? Now I got an opportunity to make something different and break some generational curses. You know what I'm saying? So maybe I need to pull back on this whole, you know, gangbanging thing and actually, you know, steward my future. You know what I mean? So it's been a wild ride, man. It's been a wild ride, but these kids, man, they're my everything. They're my everything. I promise you. Yes, they're a lot. There were definitely a lot. This household gets crazy as you would expect with 9 kids. When we're all in the same place, when we're all on a road trip or whatever, like it's like I don't want to say zoo, but it's more like a
Daycare?
nonstop. No, it's like a nonstop party. You know that you want to end sometimes, but it's like oh, take another shot. You know. You know what I mean? Like my gruts know what I'm talking about. If y'all ever been in the military and you go party with, you know, your fellow soldiers or whatever, or Marines, whatever y'all, you know, especially Marines. But, you know, I was a soldier, so you go party with your guys and, you know, they're like, oh, take another shot, you good. Take another shot, you good. And it's so like, that's how kids are. You know what I'm saying? They're like, Daddy, I want this. Daddy, I need this. And then you get up and you do it and you think you're going to go sit back down because, you know, it's time for you to relax. No, here comes the next one. Daddy, I need this. Daddy, can you do this? Daddy, can you help me with this? Okay, great. I'm just a slave in my own house.
You never get the rest. That's one thing with kids is that you get rest at moments. Moments, that I say though. Not times, moments.
Yeah.
So like
yeah.
you just gotta like enjoy what you can get for the time being.
Yeah, enjoy what you can while you can, for sure.
Yeah.
And some days we have to stay up late. We got to stay up late in order to get that time because, you know, like I said, this is a busy household. Me and my wife, we do a lot. You know, we're in business. You know, she's also a medical assistant. You know, so it's a lot going on. And so in order to get our quality time or even a time to just sit and breathe, we got to stay up a couple of hours extra at night to be like, all right, now how was your day? Because I didn't get to talk to you since you got home because we were helping the kids with the homework, cooking dinner, you know, making sure we get our workouts in, all this other stuff, getting them ready for the next day. laundry, dishes, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know it, it's 10 o'clock at night. We're like, so how are you? How are you doing? I haven't seen you in a while.
It's been a few months, hasn't it?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? How you doing today? All right. Yeah, how your mom and them? Like we got married and sleep in the same bed. How your mom and them? Okay. Because, I mean, even at nighttime, the kids will, well, I should say the younger kids, you know what I'm saying? Adonis, of course, who just walked out, you know, he'll come in the middle of the, okay, he'll come in the middle of the night and somehow infiltrate. We'll have our door locked at times because we know one of them is coming. They'll come in, unlock the door, sneak in, and squeeze right in between us in the smallest little space and be snoring loud, kicking us in the head, and we're like, we can't even sleep. Jesus Christ, you know what I'm saying? But it's a blessing, man. It's truly a blessing. You know.
I'm glad to hear that. So tell me, what is your go-to? So what's your plan in the next 3 to 5 years? What is it that you want to accomplish and that you want to see happen?
Honestly, so we kind of gotta plan together, you know, as a family. And we started, you know, the Fatherhood Exclusive podcast, and you know, that's just me, you know, trying to help out other fathers and talk to them about, you know, things that can help them develop the capacity to lead their families, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, I'm writing a book right now, and hopefully, you know, that'll put us in position to do the next thing. But it's strategically planned, so we're working on that. We're working on some things to help my fellow veterans. You know, so there's a business called Growth Association. We're building that up. You know, that's you know, firearms training. That's fitness training. You know, that's financial development. And when I say financial development, is what I mean by that is, you ever, you know, drive past a homeless veteran on the street and wonder how they got there? Like, how? You know, they served this country. Like, how did they get there?
I've seen that a few times. Yeah, more than I can count.
Yeah. You know, surprise, surprise, the country doesn't necessarily take care of us in the way that you would think, you know, because we, you know, volunteered our service to, you know, at the very, you know, most make the ultimate sacrifice, right?
Right.
And we don't necessarily, now granted, they do take care of us in some ways, but we don't necessarily get compensated as much as I feel we should, you know, and neither are we taught, you know, to steward the income that we do get in a positive way. So we started Growth Association to be able to do that for our community, you know, to be able to keep people's fitness up, to be able to teach people how to steward their money and their finances in a way that, you know, make investments and get their portfolios up so that when they do retire or they do get out of the service, they have a leg to stand on, or hopefully multiple legs to stand on, you know what I'm saying? And it can be thriving instead of just, you know, living.
I like that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so that's our way to giving back to that community. And then, you know, we're going to start a, Okay, hold on, give me a second. That's my baby. So, and then, you know, we're going to start a company that's like an in-home care. My wife has an affinity for the elderly. Like, oh no, she'd be like, oh, that old man is cute. And it's like this old wrinkly dude that's barely walking. He got, you know, a cane or a wheelchair, and she just loves him. And I think I love them because they got no filter. They will be perfect guests on the podcast. Old people do not care what they say.
Yeah, I haven't got at least a person I consider an old person yet, but I can already imagine. You see that motherfucker there, Bobby? You see, when I was back in 1965, I used to bust that motherfucker right on his head.
That's it right there, man. I used to. I remember when she had a private client one time. His name was Dennis, and I used to go with her to work sometimes to see if I can help out or whatever. I wasn't really doing that at the time. I had just got my first tour duty, and you know, the dude was wild. Like, the dude did not care what he said. he would like try to flirt with her and say little things or whatever. And old people just don't care. They let it fly because why not, right? And so
Yeah.
I love being around him for that aspect. But she genuinely cares about people. Like she will do everything she can to make sure that, you know, they're medically taken care of the right way. Because a lot of these organizations and these companies in the medical industry, they just want the money. You know what I'm saying? They just want the pension, the retirement. They want, you know, whatever medical benefits. They want the money from it versus actually taking care of their patients and their clients. And she really has a heart for it. So I was like, you know what? Let's start a company together because, you know, I see your potential to be leading one of these organizations. I see your potential to own one of these companies that's caring for these people because you actually love to do it. You're not just doing it for the money. And so, you know, we hope to be doing that within the next 3 years. We want to have 2 adult family homes.
I love that. That's dope.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
It's going to be interesting, but it's going to be dope.
I can believe that. Tell me this, since we're on like the medical topic. I'm sure you heard about the whole thing with Luigi. You do Luigi killing the CEO.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's crazy.
So, you know, in the very beginning, right, you just hear CEO gets murdered, assassinated, and then as the story develops, you find out, okay, it was a dude named Luigi. He's on a manhunt. They're looking for him. Somebody at McDonald's snitched on him. And then come to find out as well that the whole reason what he did was because his mom was part of the Anthem Health Keepers Association. And like, they denied her medical. I think it was something with like they denied her claim, or it was something about denying her claim or something like that. And like that was causing her to have issues. I forgot what the type of disease she had, but it causes like constant pain.
Wow.
And so he couldn't fathom to see her like that. And so he pretty much took his anger out on the main dude, which is the CEO. And so when you hear the story, people start being like, you know what? He's actually a hero. Like he literally like decided to become a live vigilante, low key.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when I'm thinking about these type of things, and especially that story, I'm like, okay, you know what? In theory, in my personal opinion, yeah, the CEO do have a family and stuff, but at the same time, he has also been part of a company that killed millions and millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hate that it's the realization behind it. Really, it's the realization behind it that in pharmaceutical companies, especially in the insurance companies, like they have to deny certain claims in order to keep them afloat too for business.
Yeah.
And so when you deny that claim, question is, when you deny that claim, how is it hurting the other person that you denied to? Could it be a possible life and death situation? Is it causing them extreme amounts of pain and discomfort to where they feel like they don't want to be here no more? And then also, like, when you think of it, it's like, it's sad. Like, it's already crazy as fuck to me to how, like, we have to pay to live.
Yeah, essentially. You gotta pay for damn near the air you breathe. You gotta pay
Right.
for it. You know what I mean?
I'm like,
clean air anyway. You gotta pay for clean water. You know, and I get it to a certain point because America is a business, but at the same time, and this is not off topic, but it's somewhat of a slant to something different. But it's crazy how we talk about, you know, third world countries and, you know, all these countries that don't have this and, oh, America's the greatest, which I do love my country. I do love this country. However, Colin, it's crazy how we talk about that, but we don't see how we getting played in the matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they don't have this and we do have it, but look at what they take from us. Look at what, you know, look at the opportunities that they derive us of. Look at the potential that they rob us from because their goal is to get the money out of it.
yeah.
This ain't even their land. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't their land to start. And when I say they, I'm not talking about white people, because I know people gonna think that. But what I'm saying is, it's the whole culture of, okay, let's take this, let's turn it into something, and then let's pretend it was ours so we can get money from it. Okay, let's take the Americans' healthcare system, right, and turn it into something that we can benefit from, regardless of what happens to them. It's crazy. It's crazy. And now you see what happens. Granted, I pray for his family, you know what I'm saying, and it's sad that that happened, because I also believe in exercising grace and mercy, like we are given every single day. You know what I'm saying? And I try to kind of go back to the whole fatherhood, situation. It's like when I talk to my kids about, things that they get in trouble for, or I want to, damn, you didn't clean your room, or you're talking back to me, or you broke a house rules, whatever. I also have to remember that I wasn't always perfect. I also have to remember that I wasn't always doing the right thing. So I have to exercise the same grace and mercy that God gave me, and He continues to give me, because I don't deserve none of the stuff that I got. So I try to do that with people in those industries as well that seem to just rob people of that, or rob people of their dignity. You know what I'm saying? At the very least, you know what I mean? Like that's wild, and that's crazy that she would get denied something, and people deal with it every single day. And unfortunately, the dude crashed out. The dude was like, I can't take this no more. And he took matters into his own hands, or so he thought. Unfortunately, that's not going to break the system.
Nah, but people were, government per se is more worried that due to that situation, that's going to spark a uprising. And me personally, I've been wanting a damn uprising to happen for a long ass time, to be real with you, because between people getting played day by day, like you said, people getting finessed, you talking about as well, like even from a health standpoint, there's people I know who do herbs, they do holistic, but in the state of Virginia, for example, they can't say like, hey, these herbs will cure you, because that's not part of FDA approval. But at the same time, you asked us to go to doctors, you asked us to go to Walgreens, CVS, for these pharmacies to get drugs that has side effects that could possibly harm or kill you. But you telling me going to get some sea moss, or me going to get like some nettle tea, then you saying like that's not going to work. But yet you telling them that they can't say that it works or that it can cure, right?
Yeah, and that's interesting, because not to cut you off, but it's always interesting to hear about how there's this large push to legalize marijuana across the states, and there's so many states,
and you know why, against it. You already know why.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, have you ever listened to some of these commercials for even allergy medicine? Like the side effects is crazy, bro. Like,
yeah,
I'm sitting here trying to Google some of this stuff, and it's like, well, that's okay, but y'all can't legalize this, or y'all can't make this. I'm like, dude, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
You're the most backward. Make sense. See, and the thing is like, that's why I understand why a few people in America is moving to like Japan, Philippines, because one, honestly, I think what was it Japan, or it was some country that had free healthcare. And there was as well the affordability in Japan, for example. Japan, I can get me a nice luxury apartment for like $400-500. So let's just say $700 a month, right? Which is still very cheap. And I can go eat out for like $4 to $8 on a good day. And I can pay my bill at like a 7-Eleven they got there. By the way, their 7-Elevens are way better than ours. And it's actually fresh food. And you're telling me as well that my insurance is way cheaper, like $20, 30. And yet you tell us you don't want us to live, or you feel like that we shouldn't be living in these other countries, especially Japan. Japan is like, what was it? Don't quote me on this, y'all. Y'all can go look up yourself. But I think they said Japan was like number 3 or 4 or 5 or something like that in the most safest place to live. Like a whole woman can walk out there, and her chances of getting mugged, snatched up or worse is way lower compared to here in America.
Yeah, and it's there's ups and downs, man, because you also have to think about, okay, well, if you screw up in one of those countries, their consequences are a lot more intense than well, depending on your perspective.
Even so, don't be a bitch. don't like, don't just, I mean, if you already know you're not a bad person and you're not going to rob or steal.
Yeah, don't do the wrong thing.
Yeah, don't do the wrong things. Yeah. I will admit, though, I think it was in Russia or somewhere in Germany. It was some country where they'll, like, if you steal, they'll cut off whatever hand or whatever you did to grab. So they'll cut off that hand.
Or they'll go finger by finger, like, what I'm saying, okay, this is your first, let's say if it was a misdemeanor or whatever, this is your first one, all right, we'll just take your pinky. So we won't take the fingers that
you so like just don't do bad
what you get, we just gonna take more fingers.
Yeah, so just don't do bad shit. I mean,
yeah, be a good person. You did, and you won't lose your life. You won't lose your limb.
Simple.
But I think that's a good testament. You know what I'm saying, to where we need to go. As a country.
And they reinvest their stuff too back into their country. We don't.
Yeah, facts. We invest into everybody else's. You know what I'm saying?
And send $6,850
we got
$1 trillion to Ukraine.
Yeah, I was over there, and it's not pretty, and I love our allies, and I hope and the best for them, but at the end of the day, we got to take care of us too. You know what I'm saying? And we got to make us a priority. It's crazy to see the amount of people on the streets in this country, and it's crazy to see the amount of just the inflation rates alone. People can't get a home.
No.
People can't, afford to pay their bills, but yet their bills are continuously rising. I just wrote a paper on this. The inflation from even 2010 to now is crazy. Yet the minimum wage federally anyway is still set at $7.25, and some states still going to hold on to that $7.25 as long as they can prove what. But how? You can't afford.
You expect them to pay for stuff.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, and we got a long way to go. We got a long way to go as a country, and hopefully, things pull together real soon, because, like you said, people gonna start tripping. And like, what is his name, Luigi? Luigi got himself a mushroom, and I don't know what happened to Mario. He got himself a mushroom and he went crazy. You know what I'm saying? He did it.
Luigi got fed up, and I can't be mad at the bro about it. I can't get mad at him about it, because and honestly, like I said, this is Growth Unscripted podcast. Say something get canceled, I don't give a fuck. I would love, honestly, for more people to stand out. Not saying, go murder, but I will at least say, though, like, hey, you know what? If there's ways how we can tackle or bring down these bigger corporations in some way, that would be better. Because look at Canada. They refuse to pay. They refuse to pay their taxes. What can they really
do? That's why it's been such an agenda for government organizations, for high what's the word I want to use? High performing politicians, and then even some smaller departments throughout the states. It's been such an agenda to keep the families divided, to keep the citizens divided for that purpose, because if we stand together on something, we can't be denied. We the people, you know what I'm saying? And we haven't been we the people in so long, because there's so much division off of a bunch of different stuff. And these organizations that, they get rooted and cause this division, they are part of the bigger agenda. It's to make sure that we don't come together and stand for something bigger than ourselves. Because if we do, especially on something like healthcare, what they gonna do? You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna be able to handle themselves. You know what I'm saying? And we are the ones that give them the power, because we continuously feed ourselves that same bull crap, and we stay divided. and we can't get with it. And as long as that's gonna happen, they're gonna be like, it's okay. They'll turn on each other. We're good. We're good.
No.
So hopefully this is a wake up call. Hopefully this is a wake up call for a lot of industries and a lot of organizations to get their stuff together. Because it's sad that somebody has to lose their life, for something like that. But, hopefully, God bless his family, first of all, and prayers up to you. But hopefully we realize that we can no longer accept the very, very, very least. You know what I'm saying? We can't anymore.
Sometimes drug dealers get shot.
And legal drug dealers at that.
Right.
Legal drug dealers at that.
It is what it is. I mean, like I said, yeah, it sucks that somebody died, but at the same time, it's like, how else is people going to move? Because, I mean, clearly protesting ain't doing nothing. That's just like you dealing with a bully and you keep saying stop, but they keep hitting you.
Yeah, I tried that and it didn't work out. And then I started gangbanging. Things took a turn for them. So, allegedly.
Not saying do gangbanging, people. Not saying that. Just simply saying, you got to stand on business if you got to stand on business, because you simply telling somebody ain't going to really solve the issue 99% of the time.
And then also, like, at some point, we got to get to the point where, I keep saying point, but we have to get to the point and understand that, first and foremost, God needs to be, invited into our homes and involved. You know what I'm saying? Like, just praying with my daughter, I've seen such a drastic, change in her, the way she thinks and her behavior. You know what I'm saying? When I pray with my kids, it does a lot for them. If nothing else, it helps them to understand that this world is bigger than them. You know what I'm saying? And they were created. You know what I'm saying? They're blessed. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing that they've been trying to push out of the home. They've been trying to, get Christ out of the home. They've been trying to make sure the fathers aren't in the home. You know what I'm saying? And they've been trying to make sure that the fathers are bitter about it. And try to, go crazy over child support and stuff like that. And, same thing with black people. They try to make sure that at the very least, we are still in an outrage about, the way we got over here in this country. And, they want to make sure that there's so much division within ourselves and against other races. Because now, I'm going to keep it real with you. It's Growth Unscripted, right?
Mm-hmm.
I swear, black people are becoming the more racist group than any other group, because we're so bitter about, things that we've gone through and things that we've had to endure over the years. Now, is it rightfully so that we're, angry and upset, and bitter about these things? Absolutely. But how can we as a people say, oh, this is wrong, this should have been done to us, and now we turn and treat the other people the same way, as that doesn't make sense to me. Make it make sense. How can you're not standing out against the principle now, you're standing out against, the people, which is what they did to us. That doesn't click to me. And I think we gotta be better as individuals and as a people and as a community to take that turn, because again, it's just a distraction. And as long as they can use that as a distraction, it's going to be one. And they're going to ramp it up as much as they can. You ever notice, like, as soon as peace starts to happen between different cultures, and as soon as peace starts to happen within, different organizations, all of a sudden, something crazy will happen out of nowhere.
Somebody comes along and fucks that shit up.
Yeah. It ain't, random. It's planned. Not that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but it's real out here in these streets.
I am.
Like, things are actively happening. Things are actively happening to push agendas. And so we got to get our heads wrapped around that too. Like, get the fathers back in the homes, leading the homes properly. Don't be in there willy-nilly doing whatever you want to do and think it's okay. No. Develop yourself as a man, as a father, and as a leader of your household and your community. When fathers get back to leading, you'll see a change. When God gets back as the center of the household, leading the father to lead the home, you'll see a big change. And that's what it is. It is what it is. And then when that happens and we come together as a people and fight for what we really believe in, you know what I'm saying? We'll get stronger as a country and we're going to get back to number one across the world because ain't nobody else messing with us, you know, in regard to, you know, military strength and all this other stuff, but it's our heads that's messed up. It's our heads that's messed up. And people taking advantage of that full-fledged, unfortunately. And then guys like me got to go and women, you know, of course, my sisters in arms, you know, we got to go over to wherever, you know, and fight the country's battles because we've been ignorant for so long. It's sad.
It is. It is. Like you said, honestly, until that date comes, it's just going to be more so hearsay than seeing it actually happen. So eventually that will be over with. We'll get good shit will eventually will happen, and hopefully a rebellion does happen. Hopefully in our lifetime. I want to see it. Hopefully, but
yeah, man.
We'll
hopefully we make it shake before God make it shake because I would rather, you know, deal with people than deal with him because I don't want none of that smoke.
I don't either. I want no parts. None. I don't want no parts.
Yeah, absolutely. Man.
Jay, leading around that time, bro. Listen, I appreciate you. You are amazing guest to be on and talk to today.
Absolutely.
Tell me though, what can people find you at?
Man, you can find me on all platforms at official Jay Burke. That's the letter J Burke. So official, the letter J Burke. Make sure you hit up the fatherhoodexclusive.com. That's the fatherhoodexclusive.com. Man, if you're a father out here and you want to join a community of fathers that are leading their homes and developing their families with integrity, with honor, with diligence, because we're going up, you know, as a community. So make sure you hit up the fatherhoodexclusive.com and follow the Fatherhood Exclusive on all platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, if you're still here in freaking Africa.
Right, by January
19th.
January 19th.
You know, all of that, man, fan base, all of that. And then also the Gruntworks Association, you know, it'll be Gruntworks ASOC. That's ASOC, not, you know, association for, because that name's too long, I guess, for social media. So, yeah, man, we'll be doing some crazy things and developing some programs and doing some things within the community real soon. So I definitely want y'all to take part. I'm actually talking to, you know, the city over in Lakewood, Washington, to plan some back to school events for next year, man, for the Fatherhood Exclusive. We're gonna do we're gonna rent out a field, and we're gonna have some vendors come out, and we're gonna do like a war game. It's gonna be fathers and kids on teams, and we're gonna get a bunch of Nerf guns. You know what I'm saying? There's some platforms like you know how in paintball you got those platforms that you can hide behind. We're gonna rent out a whole field, and we're gonna go crazy for the whole day. You know, they're gonna get free haircuts, backpacks, all that stuff. So we're gonna be doing a lot, man, in the next year. So make sure y'all tap in to fatherexclusive.com.
Hey man, thank you so much. Y'all heard that. Make sure to be there because just know that he probably gonna shoot you with a Nerf gun in the face, just so y'all know. But
absolutely.
No holds barred. But Jay, thank you so much, bro. For those who listen today, make sure to make sure to leave a review if y'all enjoyed everything. And also as well, stay blessed, stay growth, unscripted. Y'all have a good one. Peace.